PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. We are here on the PLD Projects Network. I am PLD. With me, as always, Matty Gunner. Matty Gunner, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, mate. We're finally here. 7 weeks later. 7 weeks gone by quick.
Yeah, it has. It was a glorious day, but it was also a sad day. Next week we're not going to be talking about the new Skeleton Crew episode because we have dived deep onto the final episode today, at least the final episode of the season. I'm going to keep that open. I'm going to keep that mind open. We'll see.
I saw something earlier. It was like 92% viewer rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So.
Oh, it's definitely got well-received reviews. I mean, there's definitely it's definitely got some great numbers. It's critically acclaimed reviews. Like the fans seem to like it, critics seem to like it overall. I mean, obviously, every show has its like detractors, and that's fine, whatever. But and I know I did also see the unfortunate side of things was that, and people are jumping on this now. That was the lowest rated show. The premiere was the lowest rated, below the Acolyte.
Dude, you know I can't believe how many people got their business degrees in 7 weeks. It's incredible. Like, I thought the degrees took at least like 3 years to get, but like so many people managed to get like entertainment business degrees in 7 weeks.
I get the doom and gloom. I understand a little bit of it because that's what people do, especially it's less than the Acolyte, and that was the lowest rated show. But at the same time, I think people are jumping into a big conclusion because all the articles have been recent, and they've all been pointing to that one thing about the premiere weekend. I think you're not kind of taking into account people who are binging the show a lot of times, especially this kind of show, half-hour, like 40-minute shows. Wait till the 8 episodes are done or doing it. They're not taking into account that it has grown over the course of the. There definitely a Disney exec at least had said that there was some bumps over the holiday and that it was trending upward instead of trending downward, which is a good thing. And it might not ever reach the heights of some other things. Obviously, the discourse of the Acolyte did a little damage, I think. Go with that route. But I think at the end of the day, it's got positive word of mouth. It was trending in the right direction. It wasn't nearly as expensive as the Acolyte. I don't know. I think you could possibly see a season two.
Someone posted a meme the other day, and I thought it was really accurate to what some of these people that harp on about numbers and bullshit are like. It's like, oh, nice opinion. Sounds the same as 20 different podcasts that I've listened to. I was just like, yeah, that tracks, because most of the people that talk about numbers and viewership and they left it so open-ended, so they were writing for another season. Like, you're just parroting the same shit you hear from every podcast you listen to.
Yeah, I agree.
And anyone who said that this show was left open-ended so they could get a second season, I never want to hear them utter the name Empire Strikes Back ever again.
I gotta say,
I don't want to see it on anyone's top movie lists. I don't want to see it in anyone's top 5 in their stupid Star Wars rank lists. Like, don't utter the name Empire Strikes Back to me.
I would even go beyond Empire Strikes Back. I'd even say the original Star Wars, because quite frankly, actually, that is a very good comparison to me. I will say right off the top of that, I think there's some media literacy issues to potentially here, because I got to say, not everything has to end like definitively. You don't need like I actually listened really quick to I want to say Joseph Grimshaw said it best in the Force Center. Like, there's the Return of the Jedi ending, and then there's like the Return of the King ending. Return of the King, where we get like every single character gets an ending, and like we know what they're doing every two until like that's, and that's what people almost seem to want out of this. Whereas Return of the Jedi was like they blew up the Death Star, they're partying with the Ewoks. We don't know like what's happening with Luke afterwards. No idea. What's happening with Han? Are they going to get married? No idea. Is Lando going to go back to Bespin? I don't know. Maybe. What's happening with the galaxy, the politics? No idea. We just know the Emperor just blew up. But it was still a very fitting finale, and that's what the end of this show was. We had a show that.
Did you ever hear the Jack Nicholson story about Return of the King?
No, I did not. You're getting a tangent on me. Here you go.
Only because I know you're gonna love this. Jack Nicholson walked right up to Elijah Wood at the Oscar, where they won the Oscar, where Return of the King won the Oscar. And he was just like, "Oh, you died." And Les was like, "No, I got on the boat and I went to the Undying Lands and like I lived forever." And he's like, "Oh, I left before that. I thought you died. There was too many endings."
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. That was actually that was a very big complaint at the time, that there was too many endings. It's a way that they're never happy. I mean, personally, I was like Ken kind of was talking about this. Ken mentioned that as well. Like, I didn't want to leave Middle Earth, so I was happy to have all these. Give me more endings. That's fine. But at the same time, I just think that wanting an ending and needing an ending and saying that this was not finished or that this just didn't answer enough questions, that's where I draw the line. Because to me, like, it plenty of questions. This was more of a symbolic show anyway. What we got at the end of this episode was, I mean, this story was a self-contained story, unlike any show or movie we got in Star Wars recently. I mean, if you want to complain about the Acolyte owning, like, I can understand those complaints that the Acolyte basically really shot for season 2 and was like leaving a lot open for a season 2. That was an open-ended show. Complain away about that. Okay, I get that complaint. This the story was these kids found a ship, got off planet, they got home, and their world changed. That is the story. It's not how it changed or what happened afterwards. And the future is wide open. That is the end. Having a wide open future is the end of the story. I mean, hell, I can almost understand someone going, well, yeah, at least we should know what happened with Jod, because Jod kind of was just like left in the spot up there. But like, I think that was actually left perfectly as well, because if this is a one and done season, you can decide for yourself. Did he get put in prison or did he sneak off and find something else? If they do go on to season 2, guess what? That's what we're going to open with. We're going to open with Jod probably getting off the planet or our flashback or something like that. So to me, it just feels like media, like, this was a complete show. It had an ending. It had a definitive ending enough. It was a Return of the Jedi ending, like Joseph was mentioning. It's a very, the future is wide open ending, but that's all I need. Because that's, and I try to bring this back to before what I mentioned about Star Wars. You look at A New Hope. Look at A New Hope. This is what it felt like to me, because at the end of A New Hope, what happens? The rebels get their first victory. Darth Vader spins out a TIE fighter, gets away. Like Luke and Han get awards and they won their first battle, but the war is just starting. Like, basically that is and won the battle. Now the war of like integrating themselves into the rest of the Republic and society, galaxy, that's just beginning, and we can go on and tell those stories and see how that happens in the future, or we don't have to, or the fact that it is changing is enough. But I digress.
What is the greatest movie cliffhanger of all time? It's the one that is still debated to this day, of the Italian Job. At the end, when the bus goes over the cliff and they send him out to grab the gold, and it starts to teeter over the cliff. And it just ends with them looking back at each other, and you just have that shot at the end of the bus hanging over the cliff. People have come up with mathematical equations as to how they could have survived, as to what could have happened. To this day, that conversation is still going on. You don't have to have the answers to we live in such a society today. We live in a society where like people, like, they demand the answer to like every question.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
No, you don't. But I also say the same thing you do about that, but at the same time also I was like, no, we don't need it. But even if we don't need it, and it's actually, I think, almost works against it to a degree, because that's not what the show is. The show is very about open adventure and life is changed. That's what we need to have. I don't know. I digress. There's a couple of things that
concentration here and now, where it belongs, is what you're saying.
Exactly, and your focus determines your reality. That's how you look at the show. How you look at the show will determine your reality. If you wanted this, you're probably unhappy with the ending. You know what? I can't tell you to like something you did. I can't tell you to like an ending that is a Return of the Jedi like ending if you didn't. I think it's a little hypocritical potentially if you're happy with other endings like that, but not. I kind of feel like it's a little. But I digress. I'm not going to tell you to like something or not, but I loved it. I thought the show stuck the ending. I thought the show stuck the ending perfectly, almost near perfectly. Sure, one or two like moments were like, all right, but overall, like it did exactly what it set out to do. We had a breath of fresh air. It was a nice, fun, whimsical Star Wars adventure with some great characters. And I got to tell you, some of the best Star Wars characters we've had in the Disney era. So much so, in fact, it's going to inspire by next week's show. I think I'm telling you this on air live. I think I want to do the top 5 characters introduced in the Disney era for Star Wars kind of thing. Just so we can. I think that'd be a kind of a fun thing to do. I mean, I don't want to. People are gonna be like, oh, what about the? I don't want to. Everybody gets into the Han, Luke, Leia, and Vader. Those are awesome characters. But I want to highlight some of the really cool characters in these days that we got, because I think we got some really good characters, and one of them specifically in this show, Jad Nawid, one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I'm gonna say it of all time. I love him that much. Wow. I think that he is a great character, and I hope we get more from him. Even if we don't necessarily get a Skeleton Crew season 2, I hope we do see him in other projects and other things, because there's a lot of stuff we could explore with that character, I think.
So if I were to ask you for your thesis statement about this entire show, that would be it. Jad Nawid is one of your favorite characters of all time.
One of the greatest characters introduced in Star Wars lore, and it's in a quote unquote kids show.
Well, I'll give you mine. This is my favorite Star Wars show of all time.
All right, favorite television show. Okay, all right. Number one, beating Mandalorian, beating Andor, beating everything.
Beating Clone Wars, beating Rebels.
Wow. All right. Wow. All right. That's awesome. I mean, I will totally understand some people. It is not a kid show. It is more obviously geared towards a younger audience. No argument there. It is definitely geared towards a younger audience. It's also definitely has things for adults to enjoy, and that it's your favorite show. I totally understand that. If I went through all my TV shows, Mandalorian, I don't know where I'd put it yet. I have to sit in it a little bit, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely the top half for absolute sure, because it is one of my favorites, because I don't have a lot of criticisms. I remember watching the show being like, yeah, I like what it's doing. It's doing what it's saying it's doing. I think it's well thought of. It's well crafted. It's well performed. The production is wonderful. It's overall just a great show. Just a great show, and something we needed too. This is exactly the type of show that we needed after the Acolyte discourse, because this is a show that doesn't take itself too seriously, so nobody can it automatically takes the wind out of the sails of any of that argument, that kind of thing. And so I was like, well, come on, it's a fun adventure kids show. 80s Amblins kids show. Oh, okay, it is what it is. It does exactly what it says it's going to do. I do wonder if this had been before the Acolyte, how the viewership could have been, and it would have been more celebrated potentially. That's neither here nor there. It is what it is. I think you can't replay things and everything else. I'm not blaming the Acolyte, but I love. I know people love the Acolyte. I just want to love the Acolyte. And I liked the Acolyte. It's probably one of my lesser shows.
Well, you don't have to defend yourself.
Oh, I know.
We know, people know you you've come on the show and you said that you like the Acolyte, and I don't want you to feel that you have to justify yourself on your own show, on your own channel,
right?
For your opinion. You don't have to say, "Hey, I loved it," but they're like, just say your piece, man. You don't have to justify yourself to these fools out there. That we know your heart. We know your heart's in the right place.
I liked it. I didn't absolutely love it, but it is what it is. I definitely like Skeleton Crew is definitely more up my alley overall. I wanted to like the Acolyte more than I did. I'll put it that way. I did want to like it, and I do love parts of it. Absolutely love parts of it. But overall, Skeleton Crew was much more my jam.
You're doing it again.
No, I'm just explaining my opinion. I'm not justifying it. I'm just explaining it. So it is what it is. So.
You're a good, kind-hearted person, PLD. You're not one of these bad faith actors. I do want to echo a point made by our good friend John Hoey.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know about this next trilogy, but give a trilogy to John Watts and Chris Ford.
Absolutely. At least give a movie to them. I would love to see them do the movie, because this was supposed to be a movie. I mean, this was pitched as a movie. The business side of Lucasfilm and Star Wars is fascinating and not always the best. I'm not going to lie, but it seems like they go back to things. You go back to the era right after Rogue One, that kind of era. They pitched. That's when that was as far back I think that they pitched this. John Watts actually pitched this a movie way back when. This is how long it took to come out. It was at that time where Disney was putting all of its money and all of its eggs into the Disney Plus basket. We're going to shift this to streaming, and streaming is going to be the next big thing. It didn't work out that way. It didn't work out the way that they wanted to. And, and now they are going back the opposite. That's why Skeleton Crew, if we pitched this, if this was pitched today, I think this would have been a John Watts movie. Mm-hmm. If Obi-Wan had been pitched today, we would have gotten the Obi-Wan movie, maybe even an Obi-Wan trilogy. Quite frankly, that in a way in my head, that actually is almost the way they should have gone, because you have the big three, right? And the episode 7, 8, 9. You got that; it's a no-brainer. But as a movie goes, you have a character right there, the actor who played that character. So none of this all there and like trying to take over Han Solo. Like you had Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan on the big screen. That almost seems like a no-brainer, right? In a way. Yeah. So I think those kind of things that they got shifted to TV shows. Now it's going the other way around. Mando and Grogu was supposed to be Mando season 4. That's kind of the belief. I don't know it entirely 100% for sure, but that's the belief. Mando season 4 was pitched, written, and I think Bob Iger came in. Hey, do we have any Star Wars movies? No, we don't have any Star Wars movies.
You don't got any more of them Star Wars movies?
Right. We haven't had one since 2019. Where's the Rey movie? Oh, we're working on it. It's not quite ready yet. What about James Mangold? Well, he's still doing something. What about? Well, we got the Mandalorian season 4 work on. That's written. Why don't we turn that into a movie? Okay, we'll turn that into a movie, get a movie in there, because we want to shift things back into the movie side of things, which could be good and bad. I mean, the bad side of that is like, well, if there was a series, switching it to a movie, does that? How does that work necessarily as far as you slate things? Who knows? I have faith in Jon Favreau anyway to do it. I think John's a phenomenal director, so I think it'd be a lot of fun anyway. But I digress. I'm getting off the topic. The topic is, yes, John Watts did a great job with this show, and I'd love to see a season 2. And I would love to see John Watts do something more as a film and everything else, whether it be more Skeleton Crew type adventures, maybe a John and Elwood led type of film, maybe, or something. I'd love to see something like that potentially. How that's done. There's a lot you could do with it. And I think I just keep John around, because John understands. He understands good writing. He understands good production, and I think he understands when he aims for something, he tends to hit what he's aiming for, and that's what he did in this episode. Granted, he had a lot of help with the great set of directors. The great set of directors for all these episodes. That definitely didn't hurt. And he had great performers. Jude was phenomenal, and got to give it to all 4 kids. The 4 kids were. That's a tough sell to find 4 really good kid actors in these roles, and they all hit out of the park. Even the supporting roles were good. The pirates were fun. The parents were fun, good at this. So yeah, absolutely hit it out of the park. So I'm giving away the ending here. I'm not rating it yet, but we're talking about how good it is. Yeah. We're talking about the show as a whole more than the episode itself. But unless you have anything further, you want to get into the actual episode? Should we?
Yeah, let's get into the episode.
All right, how we do this on this show is we take things we do a brief run of segments, that kind of the greatest hits via segment to kind of go through, and at the end we'll wrap up with everything else that we missed or didn't get a chance to talk about in those segments. First segment of every episode is our very serious one, our most serious one we have, Hondo Watch 2025, and that, quite frankly, is simply this: did Hondo Ohnaka make an appearance in this week's episode of Skeleton Crew? And the answer, my friend, alas, not in this episode. Alas, not in this show. We are at the lowest of DEFCON levels. I am sad to say.
We're gonna have to invent a DEFCON level 0.
Where
it's just, this was the one, man. How do you? I don't care who Tak Rennet is. Give me like the story like of Hondo Ohnaka. Like the legend of Hondo Ohnaka.
Mm-hmm.
Hondo could be like presumed dead, and like they could have replaced Tak Rennet's character with Hondo. How do you have a pirate show and not have even a mention, not even a sparkle in the eye for the most prolific pirate character ever in all of fiction? More than Hook, more than Blackbeard, more than Jack Sparrow.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. I do. The only, and not even pushback I have, it's the only explanation in my head is the same thing I said last week. John Donalwood is basically a non-comic relief version of Hondo Ohnaka. He is a pirate who has some good in him, mostly, but is basically pushed by credits. He kind of fills that role to have Hondo in there. Unfortunately, like it's like having Jod. It almost would overshadow Jod. I don't love it. I don't like it. I still think you could have done it. But I think that might be the reason why we didn't do it.
I get what
I
you're
was
saying.
surprised.
I'm not
I was
asking for
surprised.
Hondo to be a character though.
Right.
Just say his name.
You know what? That I agree with. That he definitely should have mentioned. Absolutely. That could have been Hondo instead of Talk Attack or something like that. Absolutely.
Disrespect to our patrons, say PLD. You can look me in the eye and say you understand.
I definitely understand. I'll try to say explanation wise, we don't know where Hondo is. We know that Hondo hit some hard times after Clone Wars, after Rebels, and before he gets the Falcon. So maybe he's at his lowest. So maybe he's not in the news. He's kind of like he's one of those actors who like hit the skids until Quentin Tarantino give him a supporting role in his next movie. He comes back, wins an Oscar. So he's waiting for that moment. He's waiting for Quentin to give him a call. At this point,
are you saying he's Kieran Culkin?
He's Kieran Culkin. He's John Travolta back before Pulp Fiction kind of thing. He's like,
oh my god,
he's hitting the skids at that point. I don't know. It couldn't be at this point. That's my bet. But that's the only argument I can see. But you're right. It is sad. We should have gotten it. Maybe it's the Luke Skywalker argument. Even a mention of Hondo Ohnaka just overpowers the show. Maybe. It makes it about Hondo Ohnaka. Once he's mentioned, it just all of a sudden the kids don't matter. Jod doesn't matter. It's all about our favorite space pirates. So
it's just I get what you're saying. Like having him in the show would have overpowered Jod because it would have done. But like to not even like just say his name, you cowards.
Yeah.
Just say his name.
I get it. Hey. Preaching to the choir, my friend. Preaching to the choir. So
I know. This is why I'm upset that you're not as upset as I am.
Oh, I'm upset. I'm just trying to practice a little bit of Zen right now. That's all. It's like Husa, as it were. All right, let's move on. Let's move on before we get very angry. We don't want to be angry. We want to be loving, positive people here right now. Moving on to the next segment, it is crew member of the week, skeleton crew member of the week. This is where we talk about our favorite character of the week, no matter who it is. Could be actually a member of the skeleton crew, could be a supporting role, could be a droid, could be a creature, could be a dog-like creature. I don't know what the dog, Mrs. X dog, I don't know, or whatever that creature is. I don't even know.
I think it's just called a frog dog.
Frog. I like that. That's fine. Frog dog. Who is your favorite character of the week?
Mine. He is a level 7 systems coordinator. I'm picking Wendell. Yeah. Wim's dad.
Talk to me, baby.
The 180 that I have done on him since the beginning, where I was just like, dude, you're kind of an overbearing dick. Like, let your kid be a kid. And now, like, I understand why, because like he's so protective, like of his son, because like that's all he's got. Like the mom's not around. Like Wim is all he's got, and he's doing his best to support his kid, and like he's trying to understand his dreams, but he didn't get to have those dreams. Like his dream is being possibly a level 8 systems coordinator. Like that's the dream. He was brought up in this system. Right. And that's the expectations he has on his son because that's all he knows.
Right.
He probably wants, Wim to follow in his footsteps, not, what he believes to be this fictional character in these Jedi. Like Wim's probably never even seen a real Jedi.
Right.
So he's probably like, why would you want to be like that when you could be, be like me? I'm fairly successful. Right. I work hard for you. I put these microwavable meals on the table for you, which by the way, look god awful. Cook that boy a home meal, please.
That was a home cooked meal. I know, I love it. That was actually a great joke. That was a great comic moment too. I was like, oh, it's a home cooked meal. It's lean cuisine. Okay. As it were. A Star Wars version of lean cuisine, I guess.
And then to have that
like maybe it's a Hondo business Hondo's lean cuisine.
Yeah, just Hondo chow.
Hondo chow. Hungry Hondo.
Hungry. Bro, that's a board game that we can invest in. Hungry Hondos.
I love it.
Yeah. Who's yours?
This was the biggest challenge I think I've ever had in an episode we've done. Finding a favorite character of this particular week. Usually I have like one like jumps out, like that's who it is this week. And sometimes it's like, oh, is it this one? I have a 1A. They could both. I literally could tell you that it was Jod again. I could literally tell you it was Wim. I could literally tell you it was Wendell, just like you. I could literally almost every character had one. I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite this week. But I will punch it down. I'll punch it down since you took Wendell out of the equation for me. I appreciate that. I can't. I have a tie. I can't. I'm going to say it this way. I've never done it before. I'm doing a tie. Can't do it. It's Jod and Wim are both my favorite this week. Jod and Wim. Jod because he became my favorite character of all time. Like he just stuck the landing for me in terms of we're going to get into it, but he had the redemption arc that I wanted him to have, which was a barely redemption. There's enough in there. There's enough in there that there's a heart in there, and that there is some morality in there. He's dark still, and he's definitively a villain. So there's not this like, oh, I'm going to turn, I'm going to save the kids, I'm going to be the good guy. None of that's happened. We didn't get that, which is good because we got to get that a lot. We got to get that in these stories. We get a villain who stays a villain. There's a lot of depth there. There's a lot of depth there, and that created a great, wonderful and part of it, most of it is from Jude Law's performance. His facial expressions, acting on his he says so much with a look, with a pause, with a.
Oh, does he ever?
And he can go from intimidating, scary, heartfelt, desperate, sad, like all of it wrapped into one. And he did that with me this week, especially. But I also do want to celebrate Wim, especially because Wim is a character who if there is a central character of the show, it was Wim, right? I mean, the kids were there. It was all about the kids. Yeah. But Wim was the central focus. He was the kid who he was Luke Skywalker. He was a kid who dreamed of adventure. He was the kid who thought he would take on the galaxy and take it on and win. He's the kid who got his adventure, found out it wasn't all what he wanted. So he's changed at the end, but he's not changed to the point where he is lost himself. Like he has still got that good-hearted, deep-seated whimness in him at the end. He's still looking up
that whimsical nature.
Whimsical. I like what you did there. I do like what you did there. 2 thumbs up. The whimsical nature of himself, and it was solidified in 2 moments. It's at the very ending where he's looking at the New Republic X-Wing fighters. We know that he's going to be joining. He's going to be the next X-Wing pilot at some point. He and Omega are going to be going across the galaxy together.
Rogue Squadron, maybe.
Maybe. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And it was the moment when, and I think we'll talk about it more as we get on in the show, when he calls Jod's name as he's going down the elevator. Despite everything, he hasn't given up on him. He hasn't given up on anyone. And that's such a powerful thing to do. That's a very hard thing to do. Some people will say it's soft or something, but to me, to keep your positivity, to keep your innate belief in goodness, despite being shown otherwise, that says a lot to me. So I couldn't give it to either one. So I'm making a tie. It's my show. My name's on the tin. I'm making it happen. Fight
Cop out.
Fight me.
Cop out. Okay.
Let's go, baby. I can say that. I can say that through a StreamYard link. It's all good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you an out. I'm going to say that Wim is your character of the series, and Jod is your character of the week.
I'd flip that.
Okay. Let me give you my character of the series then, real quick.
Okay.
Neil World Order.
We need that Return of the King ending where Neil is just taking a bath for the rest of his life.
Yep.
And Neil spent the rest of his life in his bath. Maybe selling bathtubs, as Forsetter said.
Maybe when we finally get the Avengers portal sequence, we get Wim and Jod beside each other. They just look back and go, for Neil. And then charge in.
I thought you were going to say there's the portal sequence, and you guys, the portal opens up. There's Neil like scrubbing his back. Going, wait, what?
Don't let Lucasfilm hear you say that, because that is a peak comedy moment. Yeah, that's gold.
I got to say, yeah, I got to talk to him. I should edit that out. And pitch that to you. Fair. I totally get it. I love. But I almost like feel bad because I don't want to shortchange everybody. I mean, Fern had great moments. KB had great moments.
KB.
SM33 had wonderful fun moments.
Nick Frost, man.
Yeah.
I never would have. I said it a few weeks ago. Like, I never. Jude Law, I had a dreading feeling that Jude Law would come into this and half-ass it because it's a big franchise. He may have just been there for a paycheck, been like, come in, be half of what I can do, and da-da-da. He didn't. Right. Nick Frost, when I heard Nick Frost was voicing a droid, I was like, that's cool, but like, it didn't sound like Nick Frost. Like, it sounded like Nick Frost doing a pirate droid.
Right.
Which I like.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally fully agree with that, man. Totally fully agree with that. I loved the idea of Nick Frost being in there. Right from the beginning, I thought that was a great idea. I think he's a fun performer. I've loved every role he's ever done, really, honestly. It was weird. I'm like, oh, he's going to voice a droid. Interesting. But man, he just sold it, made it his own. And, I can't say I didn't hear Nick Frost. I definitely heard Nick Frost. But at the same time, I wanted to see where it was going from there. Perfect role for the show that this was. So, absolutely. So, all right. Next up, we got our next category, I Spec, which is our favorite line of dialogue. And man, I have so many different ones I want to talk about, but go ahead. I'm going to let you go first.
I go on because it kind of hit quite deep at the minute with everything going on in Los Angeles. Shout out to everyone out there that's dealing with the LA fires right now. It was Fern when she said, everywhere we went, even the worst places, there were good people too. And you look at what's going on out there right now, and it's like regardless of all the shit we get in the news cycle every day, all the disagreements and stuff, when shit hits the fan, when push really comes to shove, people help people. Government doesn't help you. Insurance companies, these institutes, they're not here to help you. And I do agree somewhat with Judd. It's like, these people aren't coming to save you. But you know who is? Person next to you. Person that lives down the street from you.
Community. Absolutely, 100%. I loved that line too. And it's funny because I sat back going, John Watts did that. Like, I didn't even think about it, but like, he specifically did that. If you go back to every episode, there was a character, no matter what the situation was, who was good to the kids and who was trying to help them out, whether it's the exotic dancer at the Pirates Club, whether it was the Cthulhu-like creature in the spa, whether it was Kim, right? So, all these characters, like, there was always Hana, always somebody who was willing to help out these kids who needed help. And it's the story of Star Wars. It's what Anakin said back in the day, Mom, the biggest problem, you always said the biggest problem is nobody helps each other out there. And there's always people out there who are willing to do that help. And it's a Star Wars trope, and it's magical for the series. It's like, I think it's one of the key points of the series is exactly that, is that there are people out there, and you should either find those people or be that person and be the good that you see in the world, or help them find the good in the world. And that, I mean, Jod said it. It's the opposite of what Jod said in a way. They're saying the same thing, but from different sides. Fern is the younger, optimistic version of it, and she's like, "There's good in the world." And Jod's like, this galaxy is dark, except for the few pinpricks of light. Yeah, they might be saying the same thing, but those pinpricks are worth fighting for. Those pinpricks are worth seeking out, and those pinpricks are what make the galaxy good. Unfortunately, Jod is in a darker spot now. He's a darker place now, which leads me to my favorite line of dialogue this week. I had a bunch again. I had like 4 or 5 written down. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what's going to be. You brought your dad, or Wim's crystal lie about the crystal. Like, we try to
crystal the founders,
crystal the founders and everything else. And you work with the Jedi. But to me, it was Jod's. You just said it. Actually, his exclamation: "No one's coming to save you, boy." Because it totally unlocked Jod for me. Like, he was desperate, and he was trying to say, like, he had been this young. I mean, we mentioned it before. We thought that he was perhaps jealous of, like, the 4 kids he's dealing with all had a pampered upbringing, pampered enough. They were all good kids. They had good lives. They had good homes. They were food every day. They were going to school. They were soft in his eyes. Whereas he had nothing like that. He grew up a straggler, just trying to survive, worrying about his next meal, always hungry, as he said before. Desperate, and he is jealous of that. He never knew that. All he knew was darkness. He had that one pinprick of light where a Jedi found him, noticed his potential, taught him a little bit before they hunted her down and killed her in front of him. And I don't know whether it was pirates or whether it was Inquisitors. I will say, some people out there keep saying it's like an Order 66 thing. No, this is not an Order 66 thing in my eyes. I don't think he was. He was not. To me, he wasn't a Padawan. This was post Order 66, because he said the Jedi found him was someone like him, scraggling, trying to survive. That's what he's saying. He said that specifically. So I think this is definitely a post Order 66. I think it's the Inquisitors who hunted him down and killed her. Why? How he got away, we don't know. We still don't know. It's an interesting point of view. I don't think we need a flashback. I'm glad we didn't get a flashback in a way. I don't think we need to know who the Jedi. I don't think the Jedi is anybody that we know. I don't think we need to know. I think it's a new character, and that's fine by me. Unless you talk me into it was Asajj or something, and it's somehow connected to the animated show. But that I can be talked into that. But all that aside, it's not important. Going back to it is that no one's coming to save you was such an exclamation of, oh my God, you don't understand the galaxy. This is what the galaxy is from his point of view. That's what the galaxy is. He is only going to do what he can do to survive. And what the only thing that matters in life that he has found in life, cold, hard credits. His family, he had no family. He had a Jedi Master briefly who got killed in front of him. He had his pirate family, but the pirate family is willing to turn on him at a moment's notice and shove him out an airlock if he's not talking.
Yeah, they weren't really his family. They were just, there to use him whenever it benefited them.
Whenever he was doing right, whenever he was doing good, and once he effed up, he was quickly out of their sights or whatever. So it just was a great explanation, and the depth of sorrow in that line was perfect, because especially the pause after. It's like, no one's coming to save you, boy. And he was like, had to take that deep breath before he went on. I was like, this is such a well delivered line, and it says so much about the character that I could go on and on, but that is why that was my favorite line of dialogue of the week. So, all right, put that in your holocron and snoke it or explore more lore. We did get there were some questions that were unanswered as far as what we thought was going to be answered, and not that they mattered to the story overall. I'm still a little confused why they were hiding Takranad's face if Takranad wasn't important. It was more of a choice of, well, why, if that wasn't an important thing, why did you do this? At the end of the day, it's not that important who Takranad was. It's fine.
My explore more lore leans into Takranad, so we'll
okay.
I'll go deeper into that.
All right, then I will go the other way. Then my explore more lore is, well, we found out that this is not quite as old Republic as we thought. It was regular Republic, because the last message they got was basically about Order 66. So I want to know what happened. My explore more lore is, let's find out what happened since then. That's the last message you got. Palpatine was in the Senate. He was the Chancellor at the time. So he must have known about At-Aten. So what happened between them? Like, did At-Aten cut itself off? Did the droids cut itself off from there? Or did Palpatine say, well, we're going to not talk to them. Let's not update them. Let's keep this hidden. Maybe it was supposed to be a hidden treasure trove for him later on. I don't know. But I'm kind of interested to see how At-Aten came to be, but how it developed, and then when it did get cut off. So who knows about it, who doesn't? And how did that happen? That's my explore more lore.
I don't know if Palpatine did know about it, because the galaxy was such a poor place during the Empire. Like the stormtrooper outfits and everything were done on the cheap. Everything was done on the cheap.
Yeah.
So I don't think Palpatine knew about it. Maybe Valorum, in his infinite wisdom, his last act as Chancellor, was just like, I see the snake coming.
Right.
Cut At-Aten off.
Maybe. That absolutely could be. I guess that's why I really do want to know it. I kind of want to see them go. Let me know what happened there. Does it have to happen? No. Is it even for a show? Probably not. I'd actually probably rather see the book or comic book. Maybe let's just get into that kind of thing. I just don't want this. I'd like this not to be the end of that. And if we can get more history on it, for example, and see how that all came to be. Especially when you got like the 9 planets or whatever there was, how many crown jewels or where, I forget how many. I could be wrong. 8, 7, 8, whatever it was. All the different planets that were there and how that got set up. What that was like. I can explore more lore about that later on. Didn't need to happen in the show. A lot of times shows will just introduce kind of cool concepts and let it go. But I'm interested to say for sure. So give me, let's go into your explore more lore and Mr. Renard. Sorry, Captain.
Yeah, have some damn respect for the second greatest pirate of all time. So the song says that the space shanty, God, I like that space shanty. The space shanty said that Tak Renard made it to Ad-Aden.
Right.
Which we know he did because the Onyx Cinder was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the hell did he go?
Yeah.
If he made it to the planet, his ship is still there to the point where these kids found it buried in the ground.
Right.
Where the hell did he go?
Well, first of all, let me honestly say, I mean, your question is valid either way, but if I remember correctly, I'd have to rewatch the show now. During the explanation, remember there was this story that the concubine betrayed him or something. I mean, didn't they kick him off the cinder and the cinder crashed? So it wasn't him that actually technically made it to Ad-Aden, theoretically, unless it was on the way out. We don't really know necessarily. It's possible he never made it. But either way, somebody made it. Somebody's there, and somebody buried the ship. So how'd that happen? I guess that's like a more important part of the story,
right? Unless like the ground grew around the ship, but like you would notice that, right? If like there's a big ship-shaped hole.
You would think.
Yeah.
No, I get it. It's interesting. I definitely that's a cool, fun thing to develop. I would love to see, maybe that's what we get, like a Tak Renard miniseries or a comic book or something like that, telling that. I think it'd be kind of a fun comic. Go listen, Marvel Comics or Dark Horse over. That's a good, kind of cool little 3-issue run, 4-issue run.
I would love for it to be just a passing passage in a High Republic book or something. Like they just mention it and you're like, oh, that's where okay, cool. That's where it went. Oh,
absolutely.
That's my answer. Cool.
Cool. I like it. All right. Very, very nice. Next up, we got seen a lot of action. This is our favorite action beats of the weekend. There were quite a few to pick from. I'm going to go first this one, if you don't mind, actually.
Yeah, go for
it is, I give this episode a solid B for B-Wing. Getting those B-Wing lasers in live action, baby. Like you get the X-Wings and you're like, you knew the X-Wings were coming. Kim said the X-Wings were coming. You're like, oh, cool. X-Wings. No, don't really. Yeah. But they didn't think about the B-Wings coming. Getting to see those, like, I've never seen that in live action. I'm 99% sure.
Yeah.
It was all like we did in video games, and obviously we'd seen it like in animation, but that was the B-Wings in live action in their glory. It was just they gave us the song we expected, but they added a little bit of a remix twist to it. They did it in a slightly different genre or something like that to give us that quite a little bit of a twist to it. So that was my favorite moment. Standing up, yeah, go B-Wings.
Still no Y-Wings though, huh?
No, still no Y-Wings. I'm sorry, Ken. Sorry to say that. And sorry, Gold Leader as well. Actually, I should say that as well. And Thomas Harper, for that matter.
We need more A-Wings.
I would just happen to get. See, I like X-Wings are the generic and the standard, right? That's the standard Republic Resistance.
They're like the F-14s. They're like
you gotta have
Yale faithful.
So if you don't have them, I think you'd miss them. But I would like to see some more others sprinkled in there. Like give me the B-Wings are great. A-Wings would be good to have as well. Give me some more Y-Wings. Although Y-Wings, I think at this point Y-Wings were old when they were used in episode 4. So I think by now they're even more like old and decrepit.
Why would they even be in use?
Why are they even used? That's right. They're being retired like I should be at this point, getting the old man. Put them out to pasture at this point. But yeah, no, I'd love to see a little bit more done that way for sure as well. So, all right, how about you? Your favorite?
Mine's a little bit more simplistic.
Okay.
As a kid, did you ever do the thing where you would make a ramp out of a brick and a piece of wood, and you would ride your bike off of it and just 100%. Like ride it off of a curb? The moment where they hit the throttle and it's just like trash KB, and they jump over that dry riverbed or wherever it is.
Yeah, right.
And they hit the ground. They kind of do the Akira slide.
Right.
And Wendell just like his inner child comes out and he's like, whoa, yeah. yeah, wow. I love that moment because we talk about like this show being for kids. I think this show was for us when we were kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is for the kid in us.
You know, we are the parents now at this point. I mean, maybe not quite that under control of somebody, but definitely have that kind of. We're growing up now. We can't quite have the same adventures we used to have. But then when we do have those times where like, yeah, that inner child comes out pretty quickly.
And I didn't really think that it would come down to that snot-nosed little punk kid that we saw in the first episode.
Right.
That was such a cool little callback. And then Wendell just like looks at him, he's just like, "Give me your bike."
Your blanket, yeah. I love it. Wendell definitely had his best episode by far. Getting him all excited about that. Yeah, that was actually one of mine as well. Action bits as well. I also will throw out there a couple different things like those theater chase in general was great. Love that. The pirate battle. The pirate battle was great. Like the fighting when they're starting to take over. Specifically, not actually killing anyone. Like they're not shooting people. They're shooting like just property damage for the most part, which I thought was actually a good thing. Wim finally getting his lightsaber moment that we thought he was going to get during the previous episode. He gets it. Really gets to be him at this point. The action bit of Farrah finally giving in and helping her daughter out and helping Wendell pull the lever, as it were, pull the lever. A lot of good action bits. So
we got to talk about the big one, like possibly the biggest action moment of this whole season. When Neil gets shot off the bike, my heart froze. Like seeing him go flying like that off of his bike, I was like, no. I know they're not gonna like. I know they weren't gonna kill the kids.
Right.
But like for a split second, my heart stopped. But then he army rolls off to the side. I was just like, yes, dude. And then he runs up to the roof.
So good.
Because he remembers on Hayner's planet the turbo laser on the roof of the school. And there was that little part of me that was like hoping for this really comedic moment if he gets up there and it's like a pond or something. Like he gets up there and there's no laser up there.
Right.
But like you have the moment where the Onyx Cinder is flying up and you're like, oh my God, are they going to make it? They're going to make it. Boom. He takes out the turret. And I'm just like, my man.
I love how all the episodes did. Every episode had something in it that led to the finale, which I love. You know, like the Hayna episode has the turbo laser. We have, the prostitute or the doc dancer being the good person of the galaxy. Kim's return. Kim's like, you mentioned before, Kim's going to pick a play that if you ever need help, call me. Things like that. The lightsaber moment, like that was a pushback. Now he gets it right this time, kind of thing. He shows where he was and where he is now. He's made it to the end of the change. Where every kind of like it just all led up to the finale. It's all that. So it made the series as a whole something that was important. Everything led to something. It wasn't just like there is no dreaded F word. There's no filler. It's all something that led to something else, which is powerful and very fun. So. All right. Next up, laugh it up, Fuzzball. This is our favorite comic moments of the week, our favorite funny moments of the week. I had a bunch of these as well, although we've said a lot of them. I'm going to be honest with you. The one that did make me completely laugh out loud, though, is the one you said towards the beginning. It was Wendell's line. It was when he just sat there. He turns to him and said, "Can you do that, Dad? Son, I'm a level 7 systems coordinator. Get the bike."
That is such like an 80s action hero line of like the man in the chair, like the nerdy dude in the glasses is just like, I'm like an expert hacker from MIT. Yeah, step aside.
Right, exactly. Get the bike. Yes. That was my favorite. That one actually made me laugh out loud at that point, so I did like that one. So.
I pop big for that one as well because like at that moment, like Wim sees his dad as the hero.
Yeah.
For the first time, he's not just like, oh, it's my dad, like getting on me to pass assessment. The way he does it, he's like, son, get the bike. And it's just like my dad's a badass.
Absolutely, I loved it. Like it was like the Dudley Boys. Devon, get the tape.
Great comparison.
Both wearing glasses. Both, yeah, it was all good. What was your favorite comedic moment of the week?
I'm surprised you didn't go with this one.
Might be my
the Onyx Cinder crashes into the school. KB comes which it was a comedy moment in itself. Just KB come floating down with the credits.
Right.
And then suddenly comes walking down the ramp, SM33 holding his own head and says, "That was one of my better landings, that."
Loved it. Loved it so much. It was so perfect. Nick Frost had, God. I wish there was more SM33. That's one of my few critical things. I wish there was more SM33 because of that, because I just loved him in it. But yeah, he had that great moment for sure.
He's old enough to have probably didn't happen, but I would love to. He's old enough that I would have loved to see an interaction between SM33 and Hu Yang.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. I think there should be at some point. I keep thinking they could make that happen at some point.
A buddy cop movie.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
And then you throw Chopper in as like as the Leo gets.
That's gonna be the fucking droids of death right there, man, my friend.
You got SM33 who is Riggs. You have Hu Yang who's Murtaugh, and then you have Chopper who is Leo Getz.
Droid style, I love it. Oh god, I love that so much. There was also other funny moments throughout. I gotta say, I just Neil. Of course, the first thing he does is get into the bath. Like, so the first time we see him, he's in the bath. Perfectly done at that point.
Understandable, bro. Who doesn't love a good bath?
Wim getting his characters on, getting his Spaceballs on. We start trying to pretend he's playing with his characters instead of talking to Neil. Say Princess Fern. Oh god, love that one. Good stuff. Yeah, everything. There was a lot of funny moments. Again, like I mentioned it before already, but the Wim trying to bullshit John, which is so funny because like John is like the consummate bullshit con artist. Like you can't bullshit a bullshitter, especially if you're a little kid like that. He's got like John's like, come on, dude.
Come on. Like the way Fern looks at him, it's just like, oh, you're doing the people trapped in there. You can still hear them banging on the doors thing that I did to you. Right. All right, cool. Let's play this.
Right. It's so funny. Lot of funny moments for sure. It was a funny episode for sure. So, all right, let's do our fourth vision. Go on to that. I'll let you go first.
Mine is going to be, I think, the same as it was last week. I think Jod's going to escape. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to try and like capture him, try to put him in prison. I think but I don't think he's going to be an adversary. I don't think he's going to be the bad, like if Mandalorian Grogu, like I thought before. I think he's going to come back as like the reluctant ally to these kids. That he's like he's going to need them for something, or they're going to need him for something, and it's going to be like the reluctant team up that ultimately leads Jod back to the light.
Okay, I can see that. I honestly almost hope it doesn't quite get that far, because that's the redemption I don't necessarily need. I kind of always wanted to stay on that balance. Stand about a reluctant ally, absolutely. I love to see a future where Jod like runs into the kids somewhere, Jod's doing something, he turns around and there's Neil or there's Wim, and he's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah. like that. Obviously wouldn't say that in the show.
But... or like it gets later on, Neil's in the like the New Republic. Right. Like he's joining the Navy, and like Jod gets arrested again. But it's Neil that's the one that arrests him, and he's just like, oh, this fucking kid.
Son of a bitch. Oh. Just shoot me.
Yeah, exactly. just shoot me. And yeah, because I do think he's going to escape, because I'll bring it up now and we'll talk about it more when we get into the rest of the thing. That look he gave at the end was kind of like shit, you got me.
It was like I predicted. It was the girl next door moment I talked about. That Oliphant moment.
I will give you that. That was spot on. I didn't think it would be that, but it was kind of like a game recognized game. Like, all right, you got me.
I did it.
I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Exactly, but he was almost proud of them in a way. I love that for his vision to be, and I think I like to see the same thing. He'll come back. He'll be a reluctant ally, because they'll have to do something for him, and he'll do something for them, and he probably will save them. He might go a little bit more towards the light with it. I think that's part of his development for sure. I will say, like, for example, we can talk about that as well. I might as well talk about it now, actually. Get into it a little bit. The idea, like you said, because he has so many emotions at the end. When he's watching the pirate ship go down, there's like this oh shit, I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh, these kids got me. Is my pirate flag over? Is that a bad thing? Well, at least the pirates aren't after me anymore. Like there's so much like going on in his mind, which is both sad, but also at the same time proud, also at the same time still scheming about what he's going to do in the future. And it's all like happening at once. And that's a hard thing to convey, is that multiple emotions at once. Anybody can convey, oh, I'm sad this is happening, or I'm proud. He just had it all going on at once. You could read so many things in so many different layers throughout. Some people may actually have read something different than I even read, because there was so much depth to his character. And I love the fact that he's already proven himself to be overall good, because he could have killed them. He could have killed them 100 times over. He could have killed any of them.
Yeah, more than enough chances.
He has his morality. He has his guidelines, as you were. He doesn't want to kill. He doesn't want to hurt. He doesn't want to hurt the kids. He never wants to hurt the kids. He was upset when KB went down. He thought he's lashing out, like he's like, oh, see what you did, because he didn't want that to happen. He could have shot them all. He could have lightsabered them all. He never once came close to actually killing them. He'll threaten. He'll yell, and he might hurt. I think he wouldn't be above hurting him, but he was not going to kill him. That's the thing. But what's best about that is, I saw somebody be like, well, yeah, but he's a cold-blooded. I mean, he killed Brutus like he did. Well, yeah, because Brutus he's a scum bucket pirate. Like, he's not above killing. God's not above killing, but he's above hurting, killing somebody whatever. He's killing somebody innocent. That's what it is, for sure. So that was the thing that really kind of threw me and made me realize, wow, this is what Jod is. So the future is for him. I think he does get away. I think you're going to see him, like, all of a sudden, like, an X-Wing pilot's going to, like, be knocked out. He's going to be flying off an X-Wing somewhere.
Yeah. He's going to knock out Carson Taylor or something and just be like, right, I'm out of here.
I would absolutely love to see him, like, fix the Onyx Cinder, and, like, I would love to see him SM-33 go off as a duo. I think that'd be a fun duo to have together, for sure. That would be my choice. He flies away with the Onyx Cinder, and the kid's like, well, he's going to leave, whatever. But I agree. I think it's going to be too cool as well. Force Vision for me was actually something like that as well. So I'm going to go pivot to my other one, which was something I kind of mentioned before earlier too. Wim, he's got he's not going to be a Jedi anymore. He wants to be an X-Wing, because those are the real good guys. He wants to be an X-Wing pilot. So I want to see Wim become an X-Wing pilot, maybe working under Poe Dameron, or eventually, or working with Omega, or under Hera, or something like that. Be a part of the Republic as an X-Wing fighter. He's bound for more than Ad-Aden. He doesn't need to take that assessment, the assessment test for him. I mean, Neil might be happy on Ad, and KB and Hera, KB and Fern, who knows? Maybe. I think Wim's destiny is to definitely get off that Ad and become an X-Wing pilot, become a real hero. He's kind of like, what he reminds me of back in the day? He reminds me of the Legends character of Gavin Darklighter.
Oh yeah.
Where Gavin was like the young.
That is the character that our friend Alex Damon is destined to play if he's ever in a Star Wars movie.
Absolutely, Gavin with a mustache for sure. But he's just the young character who, like, he looked up to Biggs. Women's looking up to these X-Wing pilots, and he's going to be a young kid. But eventually, he's going to be the kid that really becomes something important to the galaxy. So that's just my Force Vision for that. I will also throw out there, I read another interesting topic, is that maybe because Jod definitely did show he was on the sign towards redemption, it'd be interesting if he, like, found a Jedi and, like, became like a Jedi. Like started training with somebody else, like, and maybe like reluctantly at first, kind of thing, but eventually kind of become they likened him to, like, Kip Duran in a way from Legends or whatever. It'd be an interesting take. It has to be done very, very well.
I'm gonna push back and say 2-0 to begin the training.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but you know what though? In a way, it's like you're working against the old Jedi way, right? It's not the old Jedi anymore. So we're going to do something different, something new. So maybe they will. It's interesting to see.
Oh, I just said that because I don't want to see him become a Jedi. I want him to stay a pirate.
I do too. I want him to stay a pirate. I want him to be like, I honestly want him to become like almost like if they're not going to introduce him really, which I still am cross my fingers that eventually we get him in canon, is like someone like a Talon Card, where he is like specifically down the line. He helps out when he needs to. But a Talon Card is a Jedi, pretty much. Talon Card with the Force, basically. Space pirate with the Force. I think it's a unique character that we don't have. We should continue him down that road. He should be. I mean, that's maybe where we can get Hondo. Maybe get a heist or scoundrel movie led by Jude Law.
Ocean's 11 style.
Ocean's 11. He has to hire Onaka Transport Solutions as someone.
Now we're talking.
That's
Now we're talking.
That's a Force vision, my friend.
I feel like he'll be like the guy that they reluctantly go to like get his help with the big bad. Where they're like, oh, you need to pull in an old enemy to fight the bigger enemy kind of a deal. If you want to, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You need a asshole to think like an asshole. Like you need a bad guy to think like a bad guy.
Kind of pirate to think like a pirate, that way kind of thing too. And I would be surprised as well. That'd be kind of cool. Actually, question. I don't remember. Maybe I missed it. Where did the lightsaber end up? Did Wim drop it?
Wim had it.
Wim kept
Wim
it.
had it.
Okay.
Wim kept it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually kind of sad, but I wish like he kind of dropped it. I wish Jod had gotten it.
Nah, Wim still.
Imagine Jod and like every Jod having meeting Onaka and Jod having this laser. You put the lazy sword thingy. Zing, 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 zing. I knew Jedi. You're no Jedi. I know Jedi.
My best friend was a Jedi.
My best friend. Many of my best friends were Jedis. Well, all of them very close to me. I love it. So. All right. Our parsecs out of 11. I scale things out of 1 to 11 here on PLD Projects. We turned up to 11. What do you rate this last episode there?
11.
11. Nice. I give it a solid 10.5. So I'm right there with you. I really loved everything that had to do with it. So I'm good with that. All right, let's talk about the adventure of the week. That's the rest of the things we need to talk about. I kind of don't know if we had a whole lot. We kind of breezed everything we were going to go. I will say I want to bring up my one criticism that I had, the one thing that kind of took me out a little bit. And again, I give it 10.5. So my criticism is, so KB gets out into space, calls Kim, and man, the X-Wings are there within 10 minutes. It's like, I know that hyperspace right there. I know she had 2 flaps or anything, but does that mean that either they were in the air territory or that planet is really close? Their base is really close to Adam, because they got there a little too quickly, especially after like Mandalorian, where they try to get him to come to Navarro and they turn him down. Or else it's like Kim is better than Carson Teva about getting X-Wings out to help, I guess. But it was just like really quick. A lot of times you see like these things take days to get to or time to get to and everything else. It was a little convenient how quick they got there.
I mean, you are probably the best authority to speak on this because of your real life day job.
You're right.
Working in dispatch. You got to think it's got to take a while for that call to reach the base and then to man the fighters. Oh, who knows? Maybe they were just like patrol cars on the way by, and they were just like,
had to be.
We got this. Call for backup. Maybe the X-Wings got there first, and the B-Wings kind of came in after, like while they were waiting for the barrier to come down.
Or then General Leia in her Corvette and they Tantu for whatever, possibly, or whatever it is.
Add that to my Explore More lore. Who the hell was on that Corvette?
Yeah, could have been Leia. You never know. Could have been Leia or Leia Hera. Akbar, absolutely. It took me out a little bit. It's kind of like, well, that was quick. But
it was very quick. It was very quick. You could have like extended the episode by another like 5 minutes to be like, where are these guys?
Right. That'd be the best. Like they come like later on, make it more stressful or whatever else. But yeah, that was the only thing I had to say. Negative. That was the only negative thing I think I had to say overall. I think everything else was pretty much.
That is barely a nitpick. So
it's a nitpick and a half. So
one thing we didn't talk about, and I kind of predicted this from the beginning, of like there is no real supervisor. It's essentially Hal.
Yeah, it really was Hal. You nailed it. You nailed it. The supervisor was a droid. It was actually kind of funny that there is no redundancy.
Ruled by a droid?
There is no redundancy in those systems. Like once John got in there, that's it. You're done. So that's been impressively kept up. Upkeep has been kept up very well, obviously.
I did love that moment though, where the supervisor was like, the last message we got about the Jedi was that they're traitors. So are you an emissary or are you a Jedi?
Are you lying? Are you lying about being an emissary? Are you lying about being a Jedi? That was great. That was so good.
That was pretty cool.
Voiced, of course, by the legendary Stephen Fry, which is really cool. That's his voice.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like that's awesome. That is cool. So.
I love Stephen Fry. That's cool.
That was a great ending line for that. And then John turned. That was wonderful.
Oh, man, now I wish it had been a real person.
VC Fry
there. Yeah. Had a moment between SM33 and the supervisor, because in real life, Nick Frost and Stephen Fry are good friends.
Yep.
So that would have been a cool moment.
Absolutely. Let's see what else we got. I'm kind of skimming through the episode now. Farrah, man, she took long enough to come around.
Yeah.
There's a dramatic moment at the end, and kind of like, God, by now you're still not going to try to help Wendell at this point. You're still waiting and pausing on that. My God, girl, get your ass together.
Yeah, and it's like the supervisor knew her as well. It was like, oh, this is one of my most prominent undersecretaries or whatever he called her, and it was just like, so you knew this entire time.
Yeah. Yep. She knew the whole time. That's what they're going to tell. I guess maybe that's what they were going to tell them, is that the secret that they're supposed to know in graduation, that they are a mint and that they're cut off from their public and that they are being run by a droid at this point. Is that what it is at this point? Maybe that's a big secret. They never did know what that necessarily was. We don't really know what the parents know, what they don't know at this point. So we got a little bit of a hint into it. Like
yeah, she said she knew. It was like, because when Jod said, you ruled by a droid. She goes, yeah, as decreed by the great work.
All right.
So what's this great work?
Yeah, what is this great work? That's another thing. Is more lore. Need more lore on that as well. Not need, but it's just see what that is.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Just a mention of it in a passage in a book would be cool. There was one thing that I did really think of, but I can't think of it. But it sounds like you have something, so go, and it might trigger my.
I was going to say I love the moment where Wim was at his most desperate, when he was ready to throw the lever, and Jod pulled the saber on Wendell, and he actually cried. And he's like, you're not a Jedi, you lied. And it's like, which made his moment calling for Jod out the elevator even more powerful to me. More moment.
You did just trigger it. Thank you. The moment where Wendell and Jod are fighting over the lever. You can tell that Jod hasn't had a lot of training, because if he was like a full-blown, like, powerful Jedi, he could have just gone, all right, boom, see you later. Right. He could have pulled that lightsaber out of the hands of two children like that easily. Right. But like, he's still, like, he hasn't had that training. He's just had a little bit here and there. But that moment where he starts bending Wendell's fingers back, I was like, oh, because I could, like, as someone who has had their fingers, like, twisted and broken about, just hearing the cracking, I was like, ah.
Oh yeah, it was tough. That was a tough moment there. Absolutely. I did love the fact that Wendell did get a knockout punch. Not punch. He got the big punch. You're like, yeah, go Wendell. Whereas Jod's like, oh, son of a bitch.
That was like 2 minutes later, he was like on the ground, like swimming back. But then, like, he's like, you see the fist clench, and you're like, do it.
Bam. Take him out. But I love Jod that whole time, like the whole sequence of Jod in there with all of them, like the mixture of emotions, the desperation to win, the desperation to still like to win but not kill anybody. He just had so many emotions, and he played it so well. And when the levers dropped, you get that shot of Jod just being like, well, fuck, pretty much at that point. And that's when he looks at Wim with the lightsaber. It's kind of like, what am I fighting for now at this point? And as he throws the gun away at that point, it's like, I mean, he's still, honestly speaking, Jod still at that point had the gun. Could have totally shot Wim and the kid. Like, Wim's not going to be able to block it with a saber. Like, he's not a Jedi. I don't know. He could have killed the parents at that point, but like, he's kind of like, I don't even know what I'm fighting for at this point. You win. You got me. Fuck it. At this point.
I thought when he was pulling it that Wim was going to turn it on.
I was wondering that too.
And then, like, Jod get, like, cut down by it. Like,
so mad.
Dude, I would have been pissed.
I was so upset. Like, don't you do that. Don't kill him that way. He does not really kill him. No. Please. And that's what I thought. Cause I thought that's going to happen too. But it didn't. I'm like, good choice. Because seeing Jod afterwards was so great. And that's we never would have gotten that girl next door moment, like I talked about. Give me the elephant, as you said, the smirk.
I do think we could have done with a couple less moments of I'm gonna kill you, but not really.
Right.
Like after a couple of times, I was like, okay, we get it. He's not gonna kill kids. Like he's not gonna kill anyone. He's like, no one's gonna die here. Right. It's fine. Just leave it. But
and more it became about, is he gonna hurt them? That's what I kind of turned myself to. Is he gonna just knock them out or something, or like, use the Force and whatever. But he obviously couldn't use the Force too much, like you said, because he couldn't throw him around or anything else. He couldn't choke him or anything like that. Obviously, he couldn't have that kind of control. But yeah, what a great show! What a great show. Anything else you mention or talk about?
No, not really. I think that's all. That's all for me.
Well, that's it for the episode review. Then the Skeleton Crew is done. You said it's your favorite show of Star Wars in history. We haven't ever ranked the show, like given a show on a scale of 1 to 11. Maybe that's something we can do in the future. That'd be a future episode.
Well, I give this 11. I think Andor is the most well made, but I think this one.
We'll save that discussion for maybe another episode. Okay, but I will say definitely it succeeded in what it wanted to do. It was a fun event. I loved it, enjoyed it. I'm glad we got it, and I do hope we get more. Congratulations to the team for putting out a wonderful Star Wars adventure. And even if it never does hit the views that it deserves, guys, you did your job well. And talking about the creators, the actors, everybody, you made a lot of Star Wars fans very happy, and that's the important thing. And,
they did.
And I hope that we find a way to continue the story. Not necessarily continue the story, but get to see the characters again. Like, there's not a
story. Continue the story. Please continue the story.
I mean, no, I get it. I get it. I would love to see it, but I'm saying like just even seeing the characters again would be good. Like if we see Jod somewhere, I'm happy. Get to see the kids later on, I'm happy. Get to see At somewhere, I'm happy. I love to see what I mean. John Watts had this idea supposedly for a second season. I love his idea, so let's let the man cook. Let the man cook for sure. Get the same team of directors back if you can. I don't know if you can get the Daniels back again. Probably not at this point.
Probably not.
Got the Daniel everything everywhere all at once, but maybe maybe they had a good enough time that they'd do it. But yeah, I'd love to see it. So all right, that's gonna be it for that. Like we said, I do have a bit of news that dropped this week. Of course, this is PLD Projects. This is not a Star Wars network. This is my one Star Wars show, so I do tend to put the reviews, the news all in one episode. So just I gotta talk about a little bit of news that dropped Star Wars wise. First off, the big news that did drop is a actual news bit as verified by some of the trades, so I 100% believe it's true. Ahsoka season 2, they finally recasted Baylan Skoll, and they did it with Rory McCann, the Hound from Game of Thrones. Also, you might know him from Hot Fuzz, which I love.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Which I love in that as well, and
forgot he's in that.
I guess we did bring him up when the late great Ray Stevenson had passed as a possible choice because he is like a Hound kind of character in a way. Might as well get the Hound to play him, and yes, absolutely. I kind of forgot about our conversation that way because he kind of left my mind. I thought we were going to leave Schreiber for a bit. I thought we were doing Graham McTavish. I thought there's a possibility of Gerard Butler. There's a lot of other names that have flown that way. Jerry B. Love Jerry B. Who, by the way, this is a deep cut for the action guys, action movie anatomy people, Ben Baby and Andrew Guy. I went to see Den of Thieves 2 yesterday. I liked it. Good film, fun film. I looked at Jerry B's filmography. Do you remember the thing that Bateman and Guy did, the Jerry B's agent, and they talked about the titles of his movies and stuff?
Oh yeah.
And what was their favorite one? Like they said, Naya, the Legend of the Golden Dolphin. Says, Nick, that's the nun. Well, there's a 2025 remake, I guess, of that movie, and he is in it. So I sent the text to Ben and Drew. I'm like, holy shit, it's our favorite titled movie. Like, they're snap. Holy Naya and the Golden Dolphin. Jerry B.
Awesome.
Anyways, I digress. But going back to this, so yes, Rory McCann is now cast as Baylan Skoll, and I think that this is a phenomenal choice. I really love this choice because he is a phenomenal actor. He showed so much depth as the Hound in Game of Thrones, and that's what Baylan Skoll really needs. I think he was good friends with Ray Stevenson as well, so there's that connection as well. That's not necessary, but that's a nice little addition to the lore of the casting of Baylan Skoll. So I'm excited about this. I think it's a great choice. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, now that I finally finished Game of Thrones, now I finally finish it. This is, if it wasn't Ray Stevenson, I could see it being Rory McCann. Like, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, yeah, it makes perfect sense for all the reasons you mentioned, and the fact that he is a gigantic man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's huge.
Absolutely huge. Absolutely. So that's going to be a good piece of work there. I can't wait to see what goes on there. Next bit of news we'll talk about real quick before we wrap this show up. We do have a set of rumors. There are rumors that were reported first by Christian Harloff on his Christian Harloff show I produced for. So I did get to hear a little bit about it beforehand.
I was gonna say, don't you work on that show, right?
I do. He did tell you about beforehand, but it was his scoop to drop. So I'm not a scoop show. I respect him that way. He tells me things I keep close to my chest, as it were. He dropped a couple of them, but he said it on his show, so I could tell him. He had one piece of news is that this is kind of a no-brainer. It kind of is a developing news. Ariana Greenblatt was coming back for Ahsoka season 2. The young Ahsoka makes sense. Hayden Christensen is going to be coming back to Ahsoka season 2. That also likewise made sense. The other addition to that was that he was going to get a more significant role in season 2, which again kind of makes sense given that. I'm going to talk point blank here. Ahsoka was kind of a mixed bag critically to the fans. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed a lot of it. But I know that definitely some people were a bit, but almost everybody loved the episode with Hayden in it. So it makes sense that they bring him back and they kind of expand on that stuff as well. I get that. The biggest piece of that news, though, also is in addition to that, Ewan McGregor is coming back as well as Obi-Wan, which completely tracks because we had those bits of the convention where Ewan McGregor talked about wanting to get into the Clone Wars armor. I bet he knew even then that was happening. So we're going to get more Clone Wars flashbacks. We're going to get to see Hayden and Ewan as Obi-Wan and Anakin again on the same side with the young Ahsoka, a live-action Clone Wars flashback, which on one hand, I could see why people would be like, oh, that seems like it's a cash grab. That seems like it's a nostalgia grab, et cetera, et cetera. At the same time, in a show where Ahsoka's in her future or in her present day, her past meant so much to her that I think seeing that could actually really serve the character in the future. Because we do have the young Ahsoka. It's not like Mandalorian showing up in the Boba Fett show. Young Ahsoka is in those flashbacks with Anakin Obi-Wan. So that will key to her character later on, I think. And that's what's going to tie us to. Unless there's some world between worlds stuff, which I can't really necessarily discount. I don't think that's what they're doing, but I think it's going to be more Clone Wars flashbacks. I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be cool. I am at the same time just happy to have Anakin and Obi-Wan back on my screen again. I'm not going to lie. I am a sucker for that kind of nostalgia. I'm not going to lie, especially if done right. I think if done right, it could really service the story. What are your thoughts?
That's where I'm leaning to in my point. Don't make it the Anakin and Obi-Wan show. Right. Like, don't make this an episode of Clone Wars. Like, this is Ahsoka's show. Don't make it about Obi-Wan and Anakin. Have them show up. Do exactly what they did in the first season. Have Anakin show up for one episode where it's like her and Anakin. Have one episode where it's her, Anakin, and Obi-Wan, or her and Obi-Wan, and leave it at that. Do it. Move on, because everyone that you're saying is like saying, "Oh, this is cash grab." They say that now. When it happens, we're all going to be like, "Oh my god, this is incredible. This is the best thing we've ever seen.
We're winning." Yeah, no.
There's only one thing that could up it, because this is kind of like a Yeda, because they need to go one above what they did in season 1.
Right,
and
right.
Bringing in Obi-Wan would be the way to do it.
Right.
There is one person, however, that I think would push this over the edge if you bring in Sam Witwer to play this son.
Yeah. I think that'd be.
We're doing Mortis, right?
We're doing Mortis. I think there's no doubt they're doing Mortis. I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's already happening. Sam Witwer was on Katie Sackhoff's show, and he said something about Star Wars, and he clammed up a little bit, and there's some future project there, and I'm betting it's that. He does all the voices all the time, but I almost think that's not something he would clam up necessarily about. He'd be kind of I'm doing stuff here and there. I still work with them here and there. They call me. This seems like it's a more major role. I wouldn't be surprised at all because he looks like him. He sounds like it. It makes just all the sense in the world. And Filoni loves him a lot, so it makes sense completely on every which way. So
to me, that would be the only thing that'd be like oh shit, they really, because what has Sam Witwer done, like physically acting wise, since Battlestar? Not a lot.
He's done more. He was in Smallville for a bit. He had that season on Smallville, or he was Doomsday or wherever he was.
I haven't seen that.
Okay. Movies wise, he hasn't done a whole lot, obviously, because he never was a big movie guy. Did voices. So let's see. far as bigger roles, he did a lot of episodes. Being Human was his big one. He did that for a little while, for 2011 to 2014. It was based on the BBC one of the same name. I think he played I want to say he played a werewolf.
That was what, 11 years ago?
2011 to 2014. Yeah, around there. And he did a lot of couple episodes here and there. Once upon a time, he was in like 5 episodes. Oh, Supergirl. He was on Supergirl for a while. That's true. He was on Supergirl for a little bit as Agent Liberty in like 18 episodes of that. That was the CW show. He was doing that for a bit. So he's done stuff, but yeah, he's not like super busy where I think he would never turn down a big role, a big possibility like that. So absolutely.
I'm saying, if you want Matty Gunner to like a real big pop,
make it Sam.
That's what you got to do.
Sam was just announced for Celebration. Like, not that was a shock either.
He goes every year. He goes to everyone.
I know, but hey, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a big Ahsoka. I think you're going to get a big Ahsoka season 2 panel because it's filming that summer. I think I would be surprised if they're there and they go to film after that. But they have the big announcement where they'll be like, I think they'll get people on stage. I think you might get Hayden Ewan and whoever else is there, like maybe Sam Witwer if he gets cast, or beyond, but the whole cast will come out, kind of have conversations about it and everything else. Maybe I don't think that potentially, but maybe they'll bring Rory McCann. They'll introduce him there, kind of thing potentially. Be kind of cool. It'd be really kind of cool to say. I think that's going to be a big panel, though. I think for sure it's going to be a Ahsoka season 2 panel, and you're going to be there. So good for you. Get in on that one. Get the news to us, as it were. All right, the last bit of news then we cover before we finish up the episode. There was the other news bit that rumor I should say, that Christian dropped that appears to be accurate and does track on every level. He announced that the villain of Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be Embo. Now I say villain. I think villain's the wrong word. Probably more antagonist. It's probably the better way to say it, because I don't think he's a villain. I think he's a bounty hunter. It just tracks on every level for me for so many different reasons. A, Filoni loves him. Filoni's into the voice, so Filoni loves him. Voices him. I think it's like, well, yeah, might as well do it. B, it's a great way to save a buck. I don't have to cast anybody as the villain. It's a way you have Midori in there as well. And
Filoni gets another acting credit to his name.
I think it works very well in terms of this is a character who the super fans like us, we know who he is. He's made, I don't know how many appearances in Clone Wars, like 5 or 6 appearances in Clone Wars, I think. But at the same time, there is not like Ahsoka, and that there's like this big, heavy backstory and baggage of lore. Like, even the episodes we have, there is barely any lore about him as far as that goes. We know that he's like a coolly designed bounty hunter who's a badass, who has a cool hat, a cool pup. He's worked with a couple different bounty hunters teams and Jassamani and things like that. So he's cool and I like him, but we don't have that weight where we have like, but Dave Filoni come out and say, "Oh, you don't need to see in Rebels to get us." Okay, yeah, you really kind of did, Dave. You really kind of did. I love you, but you really kind of did. This one, you don't even have to know anything about him. Like you'll see his design, you'll see him like a trailer. Like that's really all you need to know going into the movie. But that was it. That Embo is going to be tracking Rada, perhaps trying to kill Rada out of the hut, whereas Din and Grogu are going to be the ones trying to save Rada, which is interesting that Dave Filoni's movie is like the Clone Wars movie, and that it's a save Rada the Hut thing.
Yeah, you would almost think that he's the main creative head at Lucasfilm these days, huh?
Repeating himself, and it's like poetry and rhymes. Let me brief conversation before we wrap up. I do want to ask you. We kind of talked about a little bit off air, but I want to get more of your thoughts. This is the first film to go into the theaters in Star Wars since Rise of Skywalker. Is the threat of this being just like this almost feels like it could be an episode of Mandalorian in a way. What is a story that it needs to be told on the big screen? Like, should there be a bigger story to tell on the big screen, especially on the big return back? Is it okay just to have a fun adventure movie out there with the Star Wars, slapping the Star Wars name on it? I don't know. I'm kind of both hands, both like on both sides. I see both sides of the story, but what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's fine. Yeah, I think because if you do another one where we bring in Luke and everyone's just going to be like, "Oh, you had to rely on the Skywalkers. You had to." Why can't it? Skeleton Crew's a perfect example of this, right? Why can't we just have a show, or why can't we just have a movie that's good fun? It doesn't have to be this massive like return to like
Right.
Star Wars is back. We're probably gonna get that with Mangold's movie if we want the big blockbustery, like epic movie, or Sean Levy's movie.
Right.
That's gonna make $1 billion whenever it comes out. So is Mando and Grogu is probably gonna make $1 billion because it's the Mandalorian.
Well, that's also the first movie back in the space in 7 years or whatever it would. Well, by the time it comes out, that's a big thing too. I guess that is my one argument is like you could almost put anything Star Wars in there and it'll probably be successful the first time through. So I just hope it doesn't like turn people off to things. I think it shouldn't. If you ghost it, you'll probably be happy. And it is banking big on let's see the star power of Mando and Grogu. They're the big things on Disney Plus. Can they translate into box office success in cinema? I don't know. I think Grogu is everywhere. Grogu's probably the biggest thing they have, honestly. So maybe, but it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be successful overall. I don't necessarily think $1 billion is going to happen necessarily, but I think it'll be successful enough, especially if it's done right and marketed right. That does lead to the next part of the conversation is that there is one other rumor out there. This was through Daniel Rickman, who is, he's been dropping a lot of rumors and he has, I think he's mostly close, but, take it with a grain of salt. The rumor out there, Daniel RPK, same guy. He has said that the inner scuttlebutt is that if Mando and Grogu would happen to flop or is not successful, that Dave Filoni's Mando movie would be shifted to perhaps a miniseries on Disney Plus.
His Mando movie? You mean his
Mando? No, his Mando versus Heir to the Empire.
Okay,
should have took a miniseries on Disney Plus potentially.
You're gonna tell that to the creative head?
Bob Iger can.
Bob Iger can.
That's what it means. If it flops, then Bob Iger might step in.
Does Bob Iger care enough?
I don't know. I have to say. I really honestly don't know. I don't think about it at this point. I think that I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. It would make because if it flops and it's like, well, they aren't interested in this as a we'll save the movies for like the Rays, the episode 10s, that kind of thing. The other things we'll finish out the Mandoverse where it began on Disney Plus potentially. I think it's going to be made either way. Whether it is, I don't think it's going to flop anyway. I think it's going to be successful enough to get us that. So we'll have to see. But that's just a thought. So
quick little cash injection to pay for season 4.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting point. We don't really have an answer on that. Whether there are going to be more Mando seasons after that. Be interesting to say for sure. All right, that's going to do it for us. I think this week, folks. Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on all social media at Matty Morner, everywhere. Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, everywhere but X. You can find my band Morner, Mourner, on all streaming platforms. And you can find me here for Holy Snokes every week.
Mourner, MOUSE. I don't know. Anyway, I'm punch drunk. Anyway, you can find me on Blue Sky as well. I love Blue Sky. I've kind of mostly left Twitter. I'm still there on occasions, basically for news, and I'll reply occasionally. But mostly I'm hanging on Blue Sky, and that's a place I love a lot more. So you can find me there. You can find me all over the podcast, or over this network, I should say. My name is on the tin, as Matty likes to say. This is the January schedule. One change. I did mention that yesterday. If you watched the Nightmare on Elm Street 5 episode of Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film, that was on Tuesday. We're pushing the 21st episode back of Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film back to the 28th. So that's going to happen then. That's about it. Everything else is going to stay there. Crown Jewels comes out every week. That's my Queen podcast. Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film. We're finishing up the Nightmare on Elm Street saga. There's a lot of stuff we're talking about with that. Actually potentially doing a Patreon show, exclusive Patreon show with as far as that goes with Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film. But I'll announce that more when I have more details on that. If you do want to be a part of that when it happens, patreon.com/PLD Projects. Join Austin Goodell, Brandon Buckingham, great crew there, great Facebook chat. Get early content there. I usually try to upload anytime I don't. Like this show, I tend to record and then put up right away. If I don't do that, if I have a couple of days in between, I usually throw up on the Patreon first. You can get first dibs at it. Crown Jewels, like I said, the Queen podcast I do every week on my sister YouTube channel, Crown PLD Projects, Crown Jewels. And of course, we have Class Action Live coming up in Projects Back.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be fun. A lot of fun for sure.
Knockdown, drag out, baby. Let's go.
And of course, review, which I go through the 1980s/2009 V franchise with Lego. We are going to start season 2 now, the last season of the reboot, before getting into the books and comics and all that kind of stuff as well. But that'll do it for us this week, folks. Next week, we're going to do, like I said, I think I announced already, top 5 Disney era Star Wars characters that have been introduced, ones we don't see more of. And I might allow us to have a couple of honorable mentions if we start getting a little long, because, you know what?
We can have, we can have honorable mentions.
Not going to cut it down to 5. So that's it for this week, folks. We'll see you next time. And as always, may the Force be with you. Always.